Chapter 11. The Coupon. You know what helps whenever you're feeling down? Using your imagination to take you somewhere pleasant and lovely. It always works. Doesn't matter what you've been through, who you're fighting, or how much trouble you're in with the law. Your imagination has the power to carry you away from all your troubles. And I can prove it. Look into my imaginary eyes. And now, it's your birthday. The biggest cake you've ever seen is on a picnic table, surrounded by all the people you care about. Every one of them has brought you a present, a real one. Not any of that "I wrote this poem for you" baloney that your friends tried to pull at your actual birthday party. You've got a bounce house, and a piñata, and carnival games, and a water slide. And everyone is having a wonderful time. And everyone is safe. All the people you love are safe and alive. Nothing can hurt you. How nice that your picnic wasn't ruined by rain, or bugs, or an earthquake, or an army with torches setting fire to all the picnic tables and hunting down your loved ones like wild animals. How fortunate for you that such merciless men didn't smash the water slide, burn the piñata, and carry you off from your home forever as you begged them to let you stay on the hillside and die. Sorry. That sounded different in my head, but the great thing about imagination is that you get as many do-overs as you want. There's still time to flip that frown around, and I know just the thing. Turn your imagination back on, and now you have a brand new puppy. You just got him this morning. His eyes have barely opened, and he still has the round tummy all puppies are born with. And when he sees you for the first time, he makes curious little puppy noises, like he has no idea what you're about, but can't wait to learn. And his ears are so velvety soft. When you rub them, he sticks out his tongue like he's in heaven. And I'm sure heaven is where he'll end up after he gets trampled into meat pudding by men with swords and heavy boots, men who weren't even trying to hurt him. He was just in their way as they marched from farmhouse to farmhouse looking for victims, and all the love and attention you once gave him can't comfort his little puppy corpse laid in front of your brother's burning house. Why isn't this working? Did the puppets on public television lie to me? Does using one's imagination not actually make bad feelings go away? What a ripoff. I don't know what I was hoping to accomplish. The stars never sugarcoat this part of the story. Perhaps it's pointless to try. But depressing or not, the story doesn't end here. And if we're going any further with this thing, I figure I need to make it up to you. Come to think of it, there might be a way. How about a real-life prize? One you can pick up at any time. Something worth real money, but free of charge, and 10,000% legit. You can claim it using the coupon below. I owe you 1 free frozen yogurt. No toppings, limit 1 per victim. 4, drawing you in with a happy story about a boy and his beloved pet, only to have everyone get horribly murdered. From your personal friend, ADJ. Just cut that coupon out of this book and come find me wherever I am, and I will buy you a frozen yogurt. No questions asked. We'll make an outing of it. You and everyone you care to invite. Bring your whole family. Your whole dead family. Yikes, I'm bad at this. Anyway, with the sacking of Curon Village finished, Sir Billiam's band of knights had been given the special assignment of escorting young Vera back to the capital, the official story being that she had been brought to the conflict by mistake and needed an honor guard to return her to a life of comfort. It was all very chivalrous, but also a complete lie. Someone should have noticed that the knightly crew escorting her avoided all the best-traveled roads out of the valley to instead hug the shoulder of a mountain no man or librarian had ever tread. This band didn't want to be seen or, even worse, counted as someone might notice that they had picked up an extra nose on their way out. Schuyler did not speak from dawn to noon. He had not even taken a clear look at his captors. The staff Mixmillion had given him rested sideways in front of his saddle. The visor of his new hat hid his eyes from a vicious world, and the only event he paid attention to was the arrival of Sir Billiam, who had finally caught up with the group after staying behind to explain his company's hasty exit.
"It's a star-blighted crapstorm back there."
Crap being the strongest word I can use in place of what he actually said.
"The second sweep found nothing. No pockets of survivors, no plunder, and counting the bodies has become difficult. When one smartmouth suggested it was a bad omen, the whole camp started chattering that the village was cursed."
He rolled his eyes, and his men nodded as if they shared his skepticism, while they all made purifying hand signs behind their backs. Speaking of those men, there were 8 altogether, all of them full knights. And I'm going to need your cooperation now. I'm going to need you to commit with everything you have to believe and accept what I'm about to say, because I swear to high heaven I am not making any of this up. Ahem. The names of the knights were as follows: Billiam, Bobathan, John Tholomew, Fitzmortimer, Brandel, Dugador, Samhelm, and Tristopher. Engrave those on the most convenient cliff face you can find, because every one of them is an italicized with a capital L legend. And not only because they were the greatest warriors on the face of this particular earth. Their loyalty to the Green Manticore was a foregone conclusion. None were kept in the dark as to the boy's identity. Before the slaughter, Sir Billiam had let his men know they would be stealing one survivor in defiance of the king's orders. He had told them nothing more, and nothing more was needed. All had agreed to keep his secret. But not everyone traveling with this band was the same kind of trustworthy. Having handed out assignments to his knights, Sir Billiam approached the girl who could still get them all killed.
"How's he holding up?"
the Green Manticore asked Vera. The librarian flinched upright. "Me? You think I've been minding him?"
"I would be extremely upset if you haven't," he replied, grimacing. "This life-threatening game was your idea, young lady. If we're caught, you'll be the first to hang. And from what I hear, the Queen is looking for any excuse to be rid of you."
"How could I possibly talk to him?"
"You're the same age."
"I don't even know him." Sir Billiam stooped to scowl at her up close.
"Get to know him."
He ended the conversation, having won it. Many plans required his attention, so he convened with his knights, leaving Vera outside their protective ring, alone with the orphan. On second thought, she was prepared for this. A librarian understands that books are always the answer, and while she'd never encountered a tome or scroll dealing with this exact situation, Vera's memory housed enough texts to come up with a plan. She'd naturally read every manual of manners in circulation and 1 or 2 volumes on courtship when no one was looking. Altogether, she had a good picture of how to win the confidence of strangers. She arranged her brown skirt, freed her arms from the blue shawl she'd huddled in, and waltzed up to the boy she did not know was named Skylar to begin breaking ice. "That's quite the amazing hat you've got there," she said. "I've never seen its like. Is that bill meant to keep the sun out of your eyes? It makes you look like a duck." Skylar was unmoved. "The horse's name is Windchime. My father requisitioned her from the king's stable. She's always eating, probably nervous after being taken so far from home. Do you like horses? I've always thought they were beautiful animals, but after getting to know them, I have to admit they're a little As if hearing her for the first time, Skylar turned and shot her the look. The look that can only be given by someone who has just survived extreme trauma. The lightless eyes that draw the entire world into their shadow, revealing that all happiness is a lie and that life is nothing more than a string of cruelties fashioned for the amusement of death alone. In his face, Vera saw the monstrousness of her own existence and the unrelenting apathy of a cold, meaningless universe. "Well, that's just rude," she snapped. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I happen to be a lady of some standing in the capital." She rocked her shoulders, folding her arms and pursing her lips. "My father is a very important man. And did I mention I'm the reason you're here right now? Honestly, the manners that mountain folk can get away with. We certainly wouldn't allow such dirty looks in the city. And let me just say that you smell like you did this." How can a voice so broken sound so intimidating? Skylar leaned down in the saddle to gawk at the girl, with an emptiness so profound Vera could have sworn his bones were hollow. "You?" The saddle shed him like an old skin. He landed with a dead thud on a turf of decaying leaves and pine needles, red-eyed, lips curled, rising. Taking a step forward, he stabbed the planet with his staff. "You sent these men to my home?" Another step, another stab. "No, you've got it wrong. I convinced them to spare you." "Me? Only me?" Step, stab. I suppose so." Vera backed away, not quite out of striking distance. "Mother is dead because of you." Stab. "You've got the wrong idea." "Father is dead because of you." Step. "You're not listening at all." He lifted the staff over his head. "Why am I still alive?" Vera stumbled backward, landing on her rear as a half-mad Skylar lost control of the temper he'd discovered in a secret chamber only a few hours ago and had precious little practice with. "Sir Billiam!" Vera shrieked. Half a dozen knights piled onto the boy before he could take another step. They forced Skylar to his knees and knocked the staff from his hands. He thrashed, an inch this way and an inch that way before realizing how hopelessly pinned he was. In defeat, he screamed at the turf he'd been firmly planted in. "He attacked me!" Vera tattled to Sir Billiam, as if expecting him to do something about it.
"Well, there's a promising start," the knight replied.
Dugador handed the staff to him, and he took a moment to scrutinize it.
"Should we try that again? Maybe with an even playing field? Give them both fancy sticks and see who wins."
A chuckle rose among the knights. Vera had no way to stop herself from reddening with fury, and that was tragic because there's nothing funnier than an embarrassed noblewoman. Billiam sighed.
"I suppose we can't let our prisoner keep a weapon."
Flexing the staff, he found its weakest spot. It snapped easily in two.
"Kindling for your cook fire, Mort. We should burn his clothes too. There must be nothing that identifies him."
"No!" Skylar burst, uprooting weeds with squirming feet that couldn't run. "They were my mother's last gift to me. You cannot burn them." Though, truth be told, he was more concerned with the secret skies still buttoned to his back. He didn't want it discovered. The Green Manticore nodded, pleased.
"Can I count on you not to make trouble then? You won't attack anyone else in this company, and you won't run. Otherwise, you ride the rest of the way naked. Deal?"
It was hard to nod with 6 men holding him down, but Skylar managed, trembling all over.
"I see your mother didn't raise a fool."
With a backhanded wave to his knights, he gave the command.
"Release him."
The arms pinning Skylar went slack, but they didn't let go. They raised the boy and brushed him off. A few patted him on the back, and the looks he got from each knight appeared strangely sympathetic. He could hardly believe these were the same marauders who had just leveled his village. But the girl traveling with them was no warrior. She didn't look at him with the same sympathy, or even bother to turn in his direction. That gesture almost set him off, but he feared getting dogpiled again.
"We camp at the first suitable spot," an exhausted Billiam ordered. "Move out."
And now they were a unit, all traumatized, all tired, and all bound by a dangerous secret. Perfect conditions for making friends, really. The knights offered wind chime to Skylar, but he chose to walk, and you would too if you'd spent as little time in saddles as he had. Already his thighs ached from the acrobatics of horse riding. The girl he'd nearly murdered also opted to walk, and against her protests, the knights forced them to walk together. For protection, you understand. And the children were easier to guard as a couple. As a pair. No, wait, that's worse. How about as a match? A twosome? A duet? You know what? I'm just going to ask nicely. I want you to pretend, as innocently as you can, that nothing will ever go on between these two people, one of which happens to be a boy, and the other, by sheer coincidence, is a girl. I know that seems like an obtuse request, but every storybook you have ever read has teased you this same way. They're just never courteous enough to invite you into the conspiracy. Let's buck that trend. The two children, whose relationship will doubtlessly remain platonic until the end of time, were locked in an adult conversation. Adult meaning that it consisted of a single awkward silence that lasted forever. Look at us, acting like old married people who have nothing left to talk about, is what the two of them might have said in friendlier times. Apparently, a mild case of aggravated assault is not the kind of thing you can just get over in the space of a few paragraphs. Luckily, a more interesting conversation happened at the head of the group, whispered between the two most senior knights.
Are you serious about camping on this mountain, Bill?
Has it been that long since you last roughed it, Bob?
That's not what I'm talking about.
A portly knight, Bobathan labored for each breath of the thin mountain air. He wiped an arm over his glistening brow.
These peaks are untamed lands, as fresh and wild as when the world was made. They could be home to all manner of beasts, or even, he gulped, mythical creatures.
Baring teeth, the green manticore spat the words. Like what?
Dryads and revenants, freshwater dragons, giant snails, rockmen, winged serpents, living shadows, or unholy things no man has ever seen or named.
Sir Billiam took a breath, straightening his tired spine. Anything not famous enough to have been seen or named has likely never killed anyone. But you know who has killed anyone? Bobathan sank, his puffy cheeks drooping.
Me.
Yes, and me, and everyone else in this company except for the boy we kidnapped. He stroked his chin.
Though, after what he almost did to the Chancellor's girl, I say we count him.
Regardless, we are the most dangerous thing on this mountain. We can cool our heels wherever we wish. There, for example. Billiam pointed to a shaded and mostly level glade emerging around the stone neck of the mountain. With grass shorter than the tangled shrubs their caravan had plodded through on this roadless route down to the lowlands. The clearing wasn't going to win any awards for its continental breakfast or day spa, but to a group of tired knights, it might as well have been the peak of luxury. They immediately claimed it as their camp. A cook fire was started. Fitzmortimer set the remnants of Schuyler's staff alight and filled a modest cauldron with water, salt, and barley. Leather armor creaked as men stripped it from sweat-soaked shirts, and the knights unrolled the blankets and mats they'd carried on their backs. Despite being barely past midday, 4 went straight to bed, sleeping on their swords. Vera led the horse to her own little corner of the clearing and unsaddled it. But Schuyler was not released from his guard of knights. They led him to the glade's most important feature, a wall of solid rock. Like a molar jutting up from the gums of the mountain. Too sheer to climb, it cut off any chance of escape. Here, at the back of the camp, where the entire half-circle of men could watch him, the boy would be kept. With 2 knights always posted on either side of him and rotated out every hour.
You'll be sleeping on the captain's own bedroll,
John Tholomew explained, tossing the boy a rolled-up mat and blanket.
He'll be wanting it back when his watch is over.
Schuyler unrolled the mat and blanket on the hard-packed dirt. Setting his hat aside, he did his best to settle in with only his own arm as a pillow. Aren't you going to tie me up? We ain't got that much rope, said the other guard, Sam Helm. I reckon you'll be in charge of restraining yourself. Schuyler nodded cautiously, despite the idea making 0 sense. He believed he understood how captives were normally treated, though he'd never seen it happen to anyone. He had no choice but to cooperate with these men. They had killed his entire village, and now they... What were they doing now? Why haven't you killed me? Schuyler dared to ask. No matter how he tried looking at it, the situation contradicted itself. The guards exchanged an awkward look.
"You are alive because the captain wants you alive,"
was the only answer they gave. Oh, the adrenaline rush of fighting 6 nights had worn off, and Skylar sank again into wordless despair. I'm never going to see them again, he realized. His mother and father had wished him a good night's sleep. They had promised to return in the morning, but that moment had been their last together. And with crushing regret, Skylar realized he wasn't going to get any more. No matter how well he behaved, no matter how much he needed it, that part of his life had ended. He was supposed to cry now, realizing his family had been forever stolen from him, with no way to take it back. He should have broken down in sobs and shrieks. Hadn't he bawled his eyes out over Summer's death? Yet now, when it really counted, for the people who mattered, nothing. Even as campfire smoke stung him square in the eyes, they would not tear up. What was wrong with him? His whole life he'd been such a crybaby. What had happened to that Skylar? But though tears had not found the boy, sleep already had him in its clutches. He knew he should fight it. An entire village had been killed in their sleep by these men. Nodding off here would leave him defenseless, but he had no willpower left. He didn't care if the night stabbed him through the heart at this moment, and the heavy vapors of the campfire weighed down his mind and stole away his alertness. Skylar succumbed to sleep. When he opened his eyes, Skylar found himself adrift on an ocean of lights.